see gold in the air, in promise in the strings. I see love in our hearts, the futures in our dreams. It's a tunnel kind of vision, like alcohol's involved.
Never ceases to amaze me what amazing guitars hang out in these hills. This is, oh, you like my broken tail light? That just happened. We'll fix that. But when I woke up this morning, my phone had a missed call at about 5:30 a.m., which is real early. And so it was a call from an old friend. And he said he wants me to come up, can I come up to the cabin this morning? Can I pick up this guitar? Because this guitar needs to get ready for his grandson's birthday. And I will always be excited, captivated by the guitars that are hanging out in these mountains. So I had to go way back in a holler. And if you don't know, a holler is a tiny little ravine or a tiny little valley with some really clear social expectations. Don't come up there unless you're invited. Make sure people know that you're coming. And when you go, don't wear loud clothing. Just be respectful because it's a very rural situation. So I went way up. Also, while I was carrying this guitar back, the case is old. From the 1960s. Actually, I think this case is probably older, probably 1950s. But the handle ripped off and I almost dropped the guitar and sheesh. So a full shot of adrenaline. I don't need coffee this morning because I have a full shot of adrenaline. But this is a 1967 or so, 1968. This is a Gibson J-50. This belongs to a dear old friend and is getting ready to live a new life with his grandson. So I want to tell you about this guitar, and I want to tell you one of the questions I get asked all the time is when you find an old guitar, what do you need to do to get it back to playable condition, especially if it's just been in a closet for a long time, as this one has. So before we dig into that, make sure you subscribe. I'm Jeremy. I'm the Guitar Hunter. I will take you with me to find amazing guitars way out in the mountains. I live in the Shenandoah Valley. It's a beautiful part of the world, and it's an incredibly beautiful time of year. Right now, the leaves are golden. The air is still kind of warm. It's in the 60s, and they're amazing guitars. As I've been hunting guitars for 20 years, I'm starting to find amazing, cool old guitars way out in the mountains. So as we were saying, this is a 1967 or 1968. I didn't check the serial number, but there are a few things that tip me off that this is a late 60s, and let's talk about those. So this guitar has the tiniest little neck you have ever played. It blows my mind. It makes it hard to play almost. It feels like a child's guitar because it's a tiny little pencil neck. It does have an old neck crack repair, and I'll show you some close-ups of this. There's tons of play wear on this guitar. Now this guitar is from the original owner. He bought this in Minnesota when he was in school, and he actually went to college with Bob Dylan. And I think maybe he was a little older than Dylan, but he knew of him, and they were at school around the same time. This guitar has a few iconically important critical 1960s things, like I mentioned, the tiny little neck, still has the 3-on-a-plate nickel tuners, has the silkscreen logo. It's missing the truss rod cover, has an old neck crack repair, and it has a couple things. There are a couple divots in the fingerboard that have been filled in, looks like with epoxy. The guitar also has a Brazilian rosewood fingerboard and a couple of the divots. You can tell that someone has really played this guitar a lot, and they have a heavy right hand. So right around where you would expect like a country G chord. So the 3rd fret right above the E and the B, the 2nd fret E and B, and then the 1st fret probably hitting that C, that 1st fret on the B string. Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, Brazilian rosewood bridge. Now this guitar does have a substantial repair. There seems to have been a serious dip, and I know this player, and I know him pretty well, and he has long fingernails on his right hand, and he kind of hits the top of the guitar as he's playing. And so when he does that, he's dug out this spot just above the pick guard underneath the strings. There's a huge amount of play wear on the inside of the sound hole. Now, the other thing that's happened with this guitar, this repair, is the pick guard was taken off, and there's a small amount of thin pick guard material or thin clear plastic that has been added, and I'll show you close-ups of this. But this is an amazing guitar to find out in the woods And so let's hear how it sounds now, and then we'll take it back to my studio. I'll get it tuned up and I'll get it fixed, and I'll just walk you through the process of what you have to do when you find an old guitar just to look at it. I want to tell you what I look for, what I think about, the things I'm going to get cued into, also with cleaning, restringing, setting up, and we'll hear how it sounds once it's all sorted. Okay, so the absolute first thing that I look for when you're looking at a Gibson, when you're looking at a Martin, when you're looking at any old guitar, there are a couple things you just need to look for. And so for me, I do these just second nature. I don't even really think about them anymore, but the truth is they're just easy things that kind of happen to guitars in general as they age. The number one thing is that usually the relationship between the box of the guitar and the neck comes out of relationship. And so you basically get to where the neck is going to move forward because there's so much tension on these strings for so long, particularly if guitars sit for a long time. And so one of the big things is I'm going to look for either the bridge to roll forward, the neck to come up, or the body to sink down too much underneath the, like between the sound hole and where the bridge meets the guitar. So the first thing I look at is this relationship and this view right here from the top of the guitar. I'm looking, like I said, for the bridge. Ooh, this bridge is starting to come unglued. The next thing I'm going to do is look at the action at the 12th fret. This guitar, the action is okay. It's a little high, but it's not the end of the world. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just look at continue the relationship, see if there's a hump coming off of the body. Another really helpful thing to do is to look down the neck of the guitar this way. This will show me two main things that I need to know. Number one, how is the truss rod? Is it working? Is the neck in good shape? And also, is there too much of a hump when I join the body here at like the 15th fret or so? So the first thing I see when I look down the neck of this guitar is there's a pretty good amount of relief. So when I look down over the headstock from the nut to the 12th fret, I see this gentle curve that bottoms out right around in here, the 5th to 7th fret. That is where a truss rod actually affects the height of the strings on a guitar. It is a mistake to lead with the idea that my guitar's action is high, therefore I need to tighten the truss rod. That is a grave mistake that lots of people make. The truss rod does not exist to change the action of your guitar. It changes the relationship of your neck to the strings and the bridge of the guitar. Now with that is a secondary factor that will affect how your guitar plays and the action, but you're changing other things in order to achieve that. I'll think about it. I'll try and come up with an analogy for this, but I know now probably I could get away with another half turn, maybe a full turn of the truss. A full turn might be a little bit aggressive. All right, so let's leave acoustic guitars in general, how they age, how they change, how they shift and move. And let's go into specifically 1960s Gibsons. What people love about these guitars, they love these round shoulders. They love the mahogany back. They love these really golden spruce tops. And because of that, these guitars have a really iconic, thumpy, warm, folky sound. I mean, this guitar is Bob Dylan all day long. Like old 60s Bob Dylan. They're cool, especially as the strings die. And with this guitar also lives in a moment in which, this is the late 60s, this is as Gibson is transitioning into Norlin. And so there are a couple things on this. The neck is tiny, jarringly, shockingly thin on this guitar. Also, there's a tag in the case. I'll show you a picture This guitar started life as an adjustable bridge, but it ain't got no adjustable bridge now. So what happened? Like many guitars in this same time period, adjustable bridges don't sound good and they don't live very well with the guitar. There's just a million problems with them. It was a bad idea. It was definitely a decision made to save money as a guitar builder, not to make a better sounding guitar. So the adjustable bridges are usually swapped out. There's two ways you can fix that. You either you fill in the slot, you fill it in with wood, you cut and recut the saddle in the appropriate location. I had a 61 J-50 and that's what someone had done on that. So basically you cut a piece of rosewood the same shape as the giant slot, fill that in, cut it, sand it, and then recut a new saddle. That's what a lot of people do. What has happened on this is that this guitar has a new and bigger bridge. So the entire bridge, this entire wood piece has been swapped. Now what's interesting is it is still Brazilian rosewood, which that's an interesting quirk. So maybe this was done by Gibson directly. I'll have to ask the owner. But the other thing is, because it's bigger, it means that there's probably some finish issues around it, and usually when you look at them, if you get close, you're going to see some finish issues. If you're looking at vintage acoustic Gibsons, the number one thing you need to look for is back here. The back of the neck, you're going to need to look and see if there's a neck break, because almost always there is, and this guitar is no exception. This guitar has a neck break that has been fixed. Now, it does not surprise me, because like I've said, this guitar is just this is the thinnest neck. It's like this and early 60s pre-CBS jazz bass necks or P-bass necks, you're going to get where they are pencil. This is just a tiny neck that it changes the playability of this guitar. But anyway, now let's look for cracks. Let's look for other things. Because guitars are made of wood, you're going to start looking for cracks. You're going to start looking for dings. You're going to look for dents, and where most of those things add to the vibe, some of them affect the value. So let's go top, back, and sides. So we've talked about, I mentioned when I was out in the mountains, I mentioned there's this big repair up here and then the epoxy on the fingerboard. So the main two problems on the top, well, there's three problems. Bridge has been swapped and the bridge is coming unglued. The next thing is that this guitar has a small amount of pickguard material that's been added to the top here. And so there's probably a crack under there. There was a deep trough from, like I said, the guy's fingernails as he plays and he kind of hits. Now the other thing, swapped bridge, we talked about that. On the fretboard, on the 3rd fret, 2nd fret, and 1st fret, there are troughs in the fingerboard, which is kind of amazing because you have to play pretty hard, you have to play a lot, and you and I should hope that we would have guitars that would stick with us long enough that they would show who we are and what our playing style was. And that's what's cool with this one, is that this one you can tell lots of first position has been played with a heavy left hand. It's amazing, but there is epoxy. This is not the right way to fix these kind of divots. I think you could live with them. They would be okay. You don't need to fill them in as long as the frets are good. And so what's interesting is it's original frets, and there's been mods to fix, fill in these troughs, which is interesting that the frets are fine. But anyway, all the wear is happening behind the frets. That's an interesting little nuance and detail. So look for neck cracks. I don't see any neck cracks on the front of the guitar, but I do see some cracks on the body of the guitar. I see there's a tiny little crack here. There's a bunch of dings and dents. There's one crack over here. And then because these tops are usually book matched, and so usually it's the same piece of wood, but it's cut open like this. So that's why it's called a book match, because it's like you opened a book. And so what's happened is, imagine that same thing on the top of the guitar. So with this, there's a crack on this side, and then there's a complementary crack, so it almost would seem like there's something in the wood that was just a little weak. There was some kind of striation or something in there. But overall, top's not bad. There is a crack up here. So normally on Gibsons, you're going to get with these big pick guards, you're going to get a crack either up here or you get a crack down here. And there are both on this one. But not the end of the world. It wouldn't kill it. Neck crack like you'd expect. On the back, there's one big mamma jamma. There's one big crack here. There's a smaller crack on the upper bow. Yeah, there it is. But overall, not bad. Tons of play wear. What's interesting to me, listen, let's go CSI on this thing. You can learn so much about people just by seeing where the wear is on their guitar. But there's a bunch of wear right on the bottom of this lower bout. the transition, this waist here. So it's really cool. You can tell this guitar has been played up high, and it has really ridden on this bottom edge, has really ridden against, you know, a belt buckle or suspenders or something like that. But anyway, all right, so now we're going to time-lapse this thing. I am going to restring this guitar. I'm going to clean the fretboard. I'm going to just give it a basic tweak and look. Now, there are a couple of things that I need to recommend that get fixed on this that are above my pay grade, and this guitar will need to see a luthier. But when you find a guitar like this, more often than not, if you are a relatively handy tech, it will get you most of the way, and then if you have a good sales or a good repair person that you know that could do the other stuff. Time-lapse time, let's do that, and then I'll let you hear the guitar, and then we're done. Oh, another thing that has definitely happened on this guitar is that this tuner is bent. Somehow when you're holding the guitar and you're playing, it usually seems to be this G is going to get hit on something and bent. Or maybe it's also when it drops. If you knock these guitars over. So maybe when this guitar had the neck crack, that it also came from being, maybe it also bent that tuner.
I got a rowdy heart and a broken wing, looking for a home.
So you see that right there and right there? That is glue squeeze out from when this neck was reset. Okay, so that means that this neck has been reset, which explains why that action is so good, but also probably whoever did that also did the neck reset, but that says a lot. Okay, so let's keep looking. This guitar also has shockingly beautiful Brazilian rosewood on the neck. Look at that. I mean, that is stunning. Here are those two little epoxy marks. So there's one, there's the other, there's the third. So whoever's been playing this, man, they have lived their folky best life. Again, I just cannot get over how beautiful, look, there's a little eye in it. I just can't get over how beautiful this rosewood is. This is also, it's been slotted. So this guitar technically could go without slotted bridge pins. If you watched the Driftwood Guitars videos, you'll know that this is a good indicator of a much better tone on your guitar. But overall, this is a very pretty guitar. So this is what I use as the Dunlop 65. I really like this. It's the lim oil. Smells great, works great. There's a link down in the description below. If you buy something with that, I get a small commission. And it's an easy and painless way for you to take better care of your guitars, to have some really good, take good care of your guitars, but also you get to pay me without actually having to give me any money. I always appreciate you guys watching these videos. I always hope that they're helpful and entertaining. So, okay. String on.
Got a rowdy heart and a broken wing. I've made friends, enemies, another refugee.
So tight. Cool. Well, I am super excited about this guitar. Now, here's the thing. You can find guitars. Like I've said this before in this video, I will never cease being amazed and what guitars hide in those mountains back behind me. I hope you find really cool guitars. If you want to support this channel, you can become a guitar hunter through Patreon. You can go to the website, you can go to jeremytheguitarhunter.com. You can buy merch, you can buy guitars that I find. And you can join with me very soon. I'm going to launch a course called Better Guitars Faster that will help you find the right guitars for you, sell the wrong guitars for you, and help you wind up with a meaningful guitar collection. So you can look around at the guitars that you have and feel proud and excited and like you have a deep understanding of who you are and what you offer the world, and that you can fill the world with music and friendship. So thanks for watching. This is a 67, 68. I never actually confirmed. I'll put it up here. I think it's a 67. Gibson J-50, and this is everything it takes to get it back up and running and sounding great. All right, have fun. See you later. Bye.